right, good morning and welcome everybody to Simply Cybersecurity Threat Briefing, also lovingly known as First Things First, and I'm happy to report for the first time. First Things First is sponsored by Barricade Cyber Solutions, your partner for incident response, ransomware protection, and business recovery. That is Barricade Cyber Solutions, who is now sponsoring First Things First, and also the CEO of the company, Eric Taylor. You may have seen him in chat before. He is a member of the Simply Cyber community. Happens to be local to where I am personally, and I've spoke with them on multiple times, and they do great work. So I really genuinely appreciate the support for sponsoring the stream. So good morning, everybody. If you're watching on replay, that timer in the bottom, when it gets to 0, we're starting this show. So for the next 2 minutes, let's welcome everybody. Good morning, Michelle. Good morning, Adrian, Joshua, Carrie. Always nice. Jenny. Yeah, Candace. Look at us. We're all grown up. Good to see you, everybody. Hopefully you can hear the tunes playing lightly in the background. Guys, wanna give a couple shout outs, couple news stories, guys. Russell Brinson, member of the Simply Cyber community. Many of you have seen him in Discord. He's procured some prizes for raffles we've done during live streams. Just shared with me just before getting on here that he has accepted a full-time security professional position with a great company. We won't disclose the company, but a fantastic company. And he'll be starting in 2 weeks. Dropped his 2 weeks notice today. So boom. Welcome to the party, Russell. Good for you. Also, guys, just an update for yesterday. David Meese, friend of the community, cybersecurity community, great person, content creator. He had that GoFundMe page because he had that awful, terrible accident. Just want to share right here. They had a goal of $2,500 yesterday when they started this fund. They've already exceeded it. So fantastic news. And thank you to all of those who were able to contribute and support Dave and his family during this awful time of need. So we wish him all the best and speedy recovery. One other thing I want to share is just kind of an update. The GRC course, guys, putting finishing touches on it. I got the coupon codes all lined up so you can pay what you want. I've made a request for beta testers just to kind of refine a couple things. I see my mods typing in chat here, so hopefully my audio is good. Greetings from the Netherlands. We need to look at that background music. It's not been coming through. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Hopefully you guys hear the podcast when that comes through. So good morning, Netherlands. Hope you guys are safe. Rich Perry, Base, how's my audio, my mic sound? Let's get that. Hey, Aaron, good to see you. Nico, Io, back from Hawaii at my bro's wedding for a week. Time to sweep back into cyber. You got it, man. Hope it was lovely out there and nice weather. Looks like we've reached the zeros. So let's do this. I'm going to make an attempt here to bring up the podcast. If you don't hear it right away, we'll work through those challenges as we always do, because you guys are the absolute best. And I thank each of you for being here this morning with me as we knock out the top cybersecurity headlines so you can kick butt at your job. Okay. Again, if you want to play along, CISOseries.com is where we get our stories. David Spark and his team do a fantastic job every weekday of curating these stories so we can digest it in bite-sized nibbles and get after it. So let's do it, guys, okay?
From the CISO series, it's cybersecurity headlines.
It's Tuesday, March 1st, 2022.
Get it?
Toyota suspends Japanese production due to cyber attack. Toyota suspended all of its 14 factories in Japan due to what a spokesperson called a supplier system failure with Kojima Industries. Kojima itself said it appeared to be the victim of a cyber attack. This will result in the company losing about 13,000 cars of output per day, about a third of its global production. It's unclear if the shutdown will last more than a day. Toyota only said it would shut down production for March 1st. No word on who was behind the attack. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida said the government is investigating the attack, saying it is difficult to say whether this has anything to do with Russia before making thorough checks. Microsoft providing...
Okay, so couple things here. Let's see. Couple things here, guys. Toyota, obviously major car manufacturer, affected by a cyber attack. I was kind of doing my audio and listening so I don't know if it was a ransomware attack. I feel like if it was, it would have said it in the title. This Russian-Ukrainian conflict is having global impact. Conti ransomware, at least some faction of it, said it would support or it would attack any country that helped Ukraine. Japan has actually entered into sanctions along with the global community against Russia. So I don't know if this is related to that. But separating this story from the Russian-Ukrainian conflict and just looking at it on a surface, this is a real case study, again, where manufacturing is getting hit by ransomware. Again, we don't know if that's what this was, but in manufacturing, they generate widgets, right? In this case, the widget is an automobile, but Toyota is unable to produce 13,000 cars a day, right? So if a car costs 30 grand, right, that's almost $500,000 a day lost revenue. So this is after a supplier plastic parts and electronic. Oh, interesting. So as I'm just reading the story while I'm talking, LOL, it looks like the attack hit the plastic parts supplier and electronic components. So I don't know if Toyota owns that, but it seems like Toyota was actually not impacted, but their supply chain was impacted. Again, this is one of those ones that's really tough with third-party dependencies in supply chain. So Toyota could invest billions of dollars into cybersecurity, have the tightest, thank you, Kimberly, could have the tightest security protocols, the best practitioners, the highest walls, and their third-party provider who gives them the plastic for their shifters or for their steering wheel or for the cloth of their seats gets hit, and now the whole thing tumbles down. So this is serious. Even if Toyota tried to hold the supplier accountable through some contractual obligation of the security controls they would have in place, that doesn't change the $500,000 a day that Toyota is potentially losing. Oh God. Okay. Give me 1 second, guys. A Nightbot is being bad. I'm going to fix that in just a second. I forgot. Too much going on with my new job and everything. So anyways, long story short, supply chain attacks are real. Be careful where your dependencies are in the supply chain. If you can, invest in stockpiling some stuff, but not too much stuff in case, you don't want to own a bunch of antiquated equipment or product that doesn't fit your newest model or whatever. But this sucks, and it highlights that supply chain is a real thing.
Intelligence to Ukraine. In a blog post, Microsoft President Brad Smith of the company will provide direct threat intelligence and defensive suggestions to Ukrainian government agencies. Smith did not attribute attacks to specific actors, saying this action was part of Microsoft's primary responsibility to help defend governments and countries from cyber attacks. As part of this information exchange, Microsoft informed the Ukrainian government of a new malware hitting the country on February 24th, ahead of initial Russian missile strikes. Smith further noted recent cyber attacks against the country are narrowly targeted, in contrast to the broad NotPetya ransomware attacks in 2017.
Okay. Give me just one hot minute. I basically was taking care of Nightbot. It looks like based on this, a lot of big tech companies, this is 2022. Companies are heavily involved with the operations of nation states, right? Like nation states depend on Google and depend on Microsoft and Windows and just, supply chain technology. UPS delivers stuff, right? So it is interesting to see these big tech players get involved. Microsoft providing threat intel to the Ukrainian government, obviously very, very helpful. What is also interesting in kind of the bigger picture with this story, and I don't know if you guys have seen this, but a lot of the big tech companies have been getting involved in different ways. For example, Elon Musk activated Starlink in less than 10 hours right over the Ukraine space to give the citizens internet. Like, that was unbelievable. Thanks for the sub, Sec Philomath. So Starlink gets activated. Google suspends Google Maps over Ukraine because apparently it's being reported that the Russian military was using Google Maps to see where there was pockets of or traffic jams, basically, which would indicate that there's pockets of activity there, right? So we saw that as well. Twitter is being used to communicate different things. We'll maybe look at something in a second here where Conti ransomware is basically splintering within their own ranks and using Twitter to kind of communicate out certain things. So the big tech picture is definitely a very real element of this particular Russian-Ukrainian conflict, but just separate from that for a minute and just realize that big tech is fully ingrained in the geopolitical goings on of modern society. So very interesting, and very interesting, and I'll just leave it at that.
Twitter to label tweets from state-owned media.
There we
Twitter
go.
will add new labels to tweets with links from Russian state-linked media outlets stating their affiliation and adding an orange exclamation point. The reach of these posts will also be algorithmically limited. Twitter began labeling state-controlled account profiles in 2020, but not individual tweets. The platform will add similar labels to other state-affiliated media accounts over the next few weeks. Twitter head of site integrity Yoel Roth said these labels are meant to add helpful context to conversations on the platform.
Okay. So again, guys, I don't look forward at these stories. You're getting it real time as I'm getting it, but it's funny. I just made this case about how big tech is fully integrated with all of what's going on. And then the next story is about how Twitter is marking tweets with Russian state-backed media. So probably Russia Today and Sputnik are the two that I'm aware of. And what I do find interesting is limiting their reach. So it's one thing to identify source, so people reading it can inform. But I find it interesting of suppressing the algorithm on how it reaches out. I don't have an opinion one way or the other. I do want to make all the Simply Cyber stuff, whether it's First Things First, Simply Cyber Live, or whatever I'm doing, apolitical and focus on the cybersecurity pieces of it. So in privacy. So I won't get too much into this, but I do find it interesting that they are doing this to inform people, to kind of control propaganda and potential misinformation. One thing that I will point on this that I found fascinating, and I saw it mentioned in a news story yesterday or an academic discussion yesterday. I can't remember where I saw it, but how much, like, this is really the kind of the first major conflict where most of the players involved have access to technology, social media, all these other things, and how think about this. Typically when there's a conflict, take the countries aside. It doesn't matter who it is, country A, country B, right? Usually the way that information comes out of the military space or the war zone or whatever is specifically curated for the audience, right? So go back to World War II, right? The messages coming back to the United States were, here are the areas of wins that we have, and maybe losses are less communicated, right? Or we have specific champions that get elevated because they had a major win and they've got they look good on camera and stuff like that. So these things happen in the modern conflict space. Everybody's got social media. Everybody can do whatever they want. So when you publish a message that this is a truth, and then there is, hundreds of people on social media posting video content that straight up disputes what, or conflicts or disproves what that message was. And again, that can be altered for misinformation purposes, right? We saw this Ghost to Kiev thing was basically a flight simulator game. But my point is, it's interesting the decentralization of how information dissemination and evidence supporting whatever is accurately happening for the most part is being conveyed to the greater population of the world. Very, very interesting.
Conti ransomware gang member breaks ranks over Ukraine.
Yeah,
the operators of the Conti ransomware recently published a pro-Russian message on its official site following the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We covered it on the show. However, one Conti member, believed to be of Ukrainian origin, hacked into the group's Jabber XMPP server and leaked internal logs to journalists and security researchers. This includes conversations from the group from January 29, 2021 through February 27, 2022. The chats show Conti's relationship with TrickBot and Emotet gangs, ransom negotiations and payment details, and Bitcoin addresses where the group received payments.
Yeah, so this is another really interesting story. As we continue watching this conflict unfold, traditionally it's been state versus state, right? So, in this case, Russia versus Ukraine, or United States versus Germany, or whatever. Like, it's state. And if you wanted to get involved, you would have to, volunteer or join the military or whatever, get part of that system. Now, like, independent factions, including Anonymous, who has done a lot of stuff that has essentially attacked Russian military, and Conti, which is a ransomware group, has opened up and said that they're going to attack anyone that supports Ukraine. Well, within the gang themselves, obviously, they didn't talk internally and come to a consensus or a unanimous decision, because they're splintering within. And like someone said in chat here, black hats eating their own now. Like, this individual who apparently is of Ukrainian descent has essentially kind of nuked the Conti ransomware gang, by disclosing all of this information. And I saw it. Jack Scott had sent me a link. There is a Twitter account called Conti Leaks, and basically it's a new account, and it's just posting URLs of data dumps that you can download. Now, I have not downloaded them. I cannot talk to the validity of those or the content that's in them, but I would guess, I'd bet amount of money that actually mattered to me, that security researchers will be digging through those, and there will be news stories probably tomorrow or as early as tonight's news cycle, but definitely by the end of the week, on interesting, juicy bits that come out of those log files and internal communication and chat, right? Because obviously, when they were doing those chats, they were expecting a certain level of security, frankly. So yeah, absolutely, Jax. Yeah. So if you don't know what you're doing with malware, don't go clicking on these things. But if you do know what you're doing, obviously best practices: get a sandboxed, open it up, verify that there's no, Trojans or anything like that happening, and then dig in, or just wait a few days and let a security researcher at Talos tell you what it says. Okay, that's what I do.
There are many misconceptions about security automation, so Torque is debunking a security automation myth each day this week. Myth number 2: security automation is just a new term for
hold on.
automated
This is a
security.
commercial.
The two social networks removed 2
Wait, hold on. Is this a commercial or what is this?
Ukrainian influence operations over the weekend. One campaign showed ties to Russia, run as a propaganda campaign linking to an anti-Ukraine website, seemingly an offshoot of an existing disinformation campaign. This used AI-generated faces to create fake correspondence to add credibility to their content. The other campaign showed ties to Belarus. According to Meta's head of security policy, Nathaniel Gleitcher, these tactics largely mirror Russia's disinformation operation used around the 2016 election, but noted that neither seemed to be particularly effective.
Wow. Okay, so this is wow, there's a lot going on here. Okay, so one, there are social media accounts that get stood up. They're bots. They're designed to incite divisive behaviors, attitudes among people, disinformation, spreading that, eroding confidence in whatever it is the threat actors want to erode confidence in. If you have enough of them, you can, like, thumbs up or like or amplify the validity or the apparent validity of the disinformation to people who are just casually walking by and seeing that like 100,000 people like this tweet. So they're using AI. I'm not sure who is the individual that or the group that is doing this, but it sounds like they're using AI to identify these disinformation accounts and then working with Facebook and Twitter to effectively remove those accounts. One of the things, and guys, if you've been following Simply Cyber for a while, I'm a deep fakes lover. Like, I swear to God, I just, not that I'm like, yes, deep fakes for everyone, but like, I just think that technology, I always predict at the beginning of every year that deep fakes is going to be a big story where it's used in some unbelievably catastrophic way, either a political leader or Elon Musk or something like that. Anyways, this is very interesting to me because they said that they computer generated fake news correspondents to give the illusion that that some human is actually spitting what the tweet said, right? So I'm actually going to go look up because I want to see how realistic these news anchors are. But I mean, it'd be no different than me being computer generated, right? Like, hey, welcome to Simply Cyber. I'm just, a figment of zeros and ones. Trust me, I'm not. I'm quite real. As can be seen by the number of mistakes I make with my audio quite regularly here. But I find it fascinating that they're able to further establish authority and trust by making it look even more real with generated news anchors. Makes me wonder why they wouldn't just hire news anchors, but apparently it's cheaper. You don't have to pay them. Okay, all right, let's keep on.
Nvidia hacks the hackers. Yesterday, we covered a cyber attack against Nvidia by the group Lapsus that allegedly obtained over 1 terabyte of data from the GPU giant. At the time, Nvidia said it was investigating the incident, and by investigating the incident, they meant turning the tables on the attackers. According to several sources, Nvidia performed a hackback, taking over and ransoming the group's machines, at least encrypting their hard drives. The group claims that they were able to generate backups that contained the breached Nvidia data. This apparently was possible because the attackers had to enroll in Nvidia's MDM to access its VPN, providing a connection that let Nvidia access a virtual machine used by Lapsus.
Wow. So, this is insane. You don't see this very often, but it's not apparent to me whether Nvidia realized that there was a threat actor operating in their environment, and then they dropped traps and venom, as John Strand likes to call it, and then the threat actors consumed said venom and then were effectively poisoned. But this is huge. This is huge for a number of reasons. One, hacking back is dangerous, people. Okay, it's dangerous on multiple levels. Like if you don't know what you're doing, A, B, if you hack back on someone who is like Kaiser Sose or something like that, right? To use a fictional example, like you could be inviting serious, dire consequences on to yourself. Secondly, or thirdly, did Nvidia ask the CEO and the CISO, like, hey, listen, we got bad guys in here. We can find out who they are and hack back. Like most businesses are not interested in that. Most businesses are interested in eliminating the threat, recovering, and getting back to making money. So I find it interesting, or I'd love to know whether or not this was actually discussed internally through executives and approved, or just, YOLO and like, let's do it. So interesting concept. Now, real quick, just because this is super on brand for what we're talking about. Yeah. I just want to share this. Hold on. Is this going to show up? Yeah. Listen, I did this video yesterday. It just launched yesterday. Today's Tuesday, right? Yeah. I just did this video yesterday. This is all about John Strand, Black Hills Information Security, anti-siphons, pay what you can training, active defense and cyber deception. And it's 16 hours, 4 hours for 4 days in a row. And literally, you learn how to do this. It makes me wonder if like an NVIDIA engineer went to John Strand's training and was like, oh, I got this. I got this. So anyways, if you're learning more about how to do this for academic purposes only, I do not encourage you to hack back. Okay, guys? But if you want to learn some of the techniques, some of the abilities, definitely check out this video I did here, because I cover it all in quite a bit of detail. And if the mods could just drop a link in chat for everybody, I'd really appreciate it.
CISA warns of Whispergate. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency and the FBI released a new joint advisory with guidance on Whispergate and Hermetic Wiper for U.S. organizations. These have both been seen used against organizations in Ukraine, although the advisory said there's no known specific threats against using it in the U.S. CISA Director Jen Easterly said CISA has been working with partners to identify new malware used in the conflict that could threaten critical infrastructure in the U.S.
Wow. I love it. Guys, again, I need a sound effect for Jen Easterly when she gets announced, because she's absolutely crushing it. Can we all just have a collective, like a collective wow? Like, Thank you, Jenny Easterly and CISA, for being proactive, for notifying in advance, for giving people heads up to be able to check, like actually actionable intel on how to check their systems and ensure that A, they reduce the risk of being hit by these attacks, and B, have the ability to recover in a reasonable time frame. Thank you. Okay, this is the joint advisory that they came out with. They are saying that they did not see any activity in the United States as of now. But guess what? You don't want to see stuff in the United States before you start taking action. You want to be proactive. So thank you. Thank you. They've got file hashes here. That's the bottom of the pyramid of pain. I mean, you could stick this in your tooling, but it's going to change. That's not a big deal. It's more about these IOCs, these file names. And if you can, MITRE ATT&CK might have something here. I'm just going to click on one really quickly to see if it actually gives you kind of TTPs that you might be able to use in your environment. Yeah, you could see here, here's the actual PowerShell command. I mean, obviously this IP address is going to change. They're doing that in a lab, but anyways, dig into this, guys. The good news is CISA continues to crush it and provide education and knowledge and threat intel to United States private and public sector in order to arm ourselves, frankly, and to be able to repel attacks, protect our organization and assets, and just do what we do. We protect organizations and we ensure resiliency in case bad stuff happens.
Windows Reset leaves user data on PCs. Microsoft disclosed a bug in the latest version of Windows 10 and 11 that results in all user data not being wiped when performing a system reset. This impacts a portion of locally stored OneDrive data, which is left unencrypted even if you're using disk encryption prior to the reset. Microsoft said this particularly impacts apps which have folders with reparse data synced locally. Microsoft suggests signing out of OneDrive or deleting the Windows old folder before resetting a PC.
Okay, very interesting. Base, just as a quick aside, let me know if you can hear a little hum, and I'm picking up a little hum in my audio. This is interesting. It kind of sucks, unfortunately, because when you say system reset, you kind of have the impression that that means full system reset, so you don't have any leftover files or content or information stored on it. It seems like it has to do with OneDrive. Guys, a lot of organizations are using Microsoft Azure. Thank you, people, for the clear audio head up. People are using Azure. People are using O365. People are using OneDrive. I'm about to give my laptop back from my company that I'm leaving, and we use OneDrive, right? We're all up in that business. I've got tons of files on there. You can bet I'm going to wipe it, and I would like not that I have anything dangerous on there or sensitive in that I'm doing something nefarious. But my point is, when I wipe my files, I expect my files to not be recoverable short of doing some of the techniques we learn in digital forensics. And I don't need to run a wiper on my machine because I'm not carrying national security. The point is, guys, if you run in a shop, if you work in IT, you work in InfoSec, and you have media cleansing guidelines or media sanitization, you work for a DoD defense contractor or whatever it is, HIPAA, and you've got medical data on there, you have to be cognizant of what this is so you can ensure that you are actually eliminating data or making it unrecoverable before you release that technology. Guys, you see it less now, but back in the day, people would buy computers off eBay, which is like an auction site for those who aren't aware, but basically buy secondhand technology and then immediately pull the hard drive and start trying to pull out whatever you could find on it. And sometimes people wouldn't even sanitize it. You could just boot it up and you'd have access to personal information, financials, photos, etc. So media sanitization, it's one of the less sexy controls, but it is a control, and it is a control for a very good reason. So just be aware of this as a risk. I'm going to make my IT staff aware of this as I'm, walking out the door.
Odds are, if you enjoy cybersecurity headlines in your feed every day,
all right.
Enjoy some of the
odds are, if you enjoy cybersecurity headlines in your feed every day, then you listen to Simply Cyber's First Things First because it's awesome. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's news stories. I do want to tease a couple things out, guys. One, David Meese, who was unfortunately involved in an awful accident, was supposed to be Simply Cyber's guest this week. I've obviously postponed that indefinitely until David is back up and running and comfortable and wants to come on. In the interim, I don't like skipping a week, guys. I love Simply Cyber. I love delivering hot takes on all sorts of stuff and bringing experts to the table. I thought that this was definitely very pertinent and a very relevant topic to talk about this Thursday. Now, you may have seen me send out a couple of advance notices and I deleted them and stuff because I wanted to get the titling right on this. This is a Russian-Ukrainian conflict, so basically talking about what's going on in Eastern Europe, and we're going to be focusing exclusively on the cyber activity, and we're going to analyze it both from a technical and operational perspective, right? So everything will be alleged, right? I'm not going to try to pass attribution. Everything will be alleged. I'm not getting into the right or wrong of it. We're not talking about, Putin and Russia and all that stuff. This will very much be an apolitical discussion where we talk about, okay, so there was a distributed denial of service prior to the attack. Like, how does that happen? What is the operational value of doing that? Both from a military perspective and from a population information control perspective. I don't know. Then we could talk about, defacing websites. We can talk about Anonymous and what they've done. We could talk about Conti and what they've done. Who knows? Some more stuff might happen between now and Thursday in that space. We could talk about Hermetic Wiper that we just got an advance notice from CISA on. Okay, so we're looking at the technology, we're looking at the attack techniques, and we're discussing how and what is the value of that why would you do it? Okay, now, Chip Harris is going to be my guest Thursday. He has experience as an operator, basically working in military theaters, doing these type of activities. The conversation will not be focused on war stories from Chip. This is very much focused. I'm going to be controlling this particular conversation because I want to, it's a polarizing topic, and I want to make sure that everything is cool. Okay. Also, normally I have a guest and let them do most of the talking. This will be much more of a panel, effectively, of Chip and I covering these things. I hope you can join us. I would really enjoy some chat, some banter, getting your thoughts on all this. I think it will be a very valuable, insightful, and frankly, interesting conversation. I'll have a timeline. I've got big plans for this talk. So I hope you can make it. You guys who are friends of the community and have been for a while, kind of my style and how I approach things. So this one I'm putting a lot of focus on. So hopefully you can do that. Again, guys, this has been Simply Cyber's First Things First. Shout out to Barricade Cyber Solutions for sponsoring the First Things First stream. Basically, if you're getting ransomware or you're having a crap day and you're like, what do I do? And you need help, like that's what they do. They deal with like right of boom quite a bit. That's their wheelhouse. So that is going to do it for today's episode. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here today. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, tomorrow is Wednesday, March 2nd. So the stream will be at 8 a.m. Go to simplycyber.io/FTF, which will be on the bottom part of this little stinger thing I got going on. Share that with your friends, your colleagues who may get value out of staying informed on the top news stories of the day. So until tomorrow, everybody, thanks so much and stay secure.